So I quit my job that I love about 2 weeks ago to pursue my dream as an entrepreneur. But I realized that getting to this point was much harder than I ever thought. Because actually, I love my job. I'm really good at it. I have great colleagues, and I believe in the mission of the company. So for the last few months, I've had conflicting feelings. I'm super excited about this opportunity, but I'm really nervous at the same time. Nervous because change is scary. What if it doesn't work out? What if I don't like it? What if there's a recession and I'll go broke? This is getting really serious. Am I really ready for this? One interesting finding from the academic research is that people tend to overestimate the negative consequences of change and underestimate the benefits. So all the negatives become bigger and scarier, whereas the benefits kind of shrink. It's like, this was just my dream. It's okay, I can live without that. And it turns out I'm not alone with this feeling. In fact, neuroscience has shown that uncertainty in our brains feels similar to failure. That's why so many people would rather avoid change because it's just too uncomfortable. The doubt, the second guessing, your brain is just basically telling you, nah, you'll just fail, don't even try. This is real reason you won't quit your job. So fear of change can lead you to stagnation, missed opportunities, and just feeling that things are good enough. We just apply the if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It took me some time to learn how to overcome this fear, and it's not the first time I felt this way. I felt it many times before. It shows up every time I'm about to make a big change, move to a new place, change jobs, move countries, and so on. Now, what really helped me to overcome this is something that I heard on Tim Ferriss's podcast, and it's called fear setting. The basic idea is that you need to visualize your worst case scenario. So first you define the scenario, then you try to come up with ways to prevent it from happening or at least decrease the likelihood that it will happen. And then if the scenario happens, how could you repair it? So basically plan ahead. If this happens, what could I do? So let me give you an example. One of my fears about quitting my job was that I couldn't live my current lifestyle. Well, obviously I can prevent it that if I save up enough money and I sustain with those savings. But even if it happens, I can always go and get another job and go back to the lifestyle I had. Next, you need to think what are the benefits of the attempt or partial success. So you're thinking about the upside in a very conservative way. So for example, if I can't sustain myself financially by working for myself, I will still learn new skills. I will also learn that maybe entrepreneurship is not really for me and I get too lonely. And Tim Ferriss emphasizes that you also need to take into account the cost of inaction.
This might be the most important, so don't skip it. The cost of inaction. Humans are very good at considering what might go wrong if we try something new, say ask for a raise. What we don't often consider is the atrocious cost of the status quo, not changing anything.
In my case, I would always be wondering if I could have made it. And so it would be a lot of feeling of regret. And that could start eating me up. And in the worst case, I could start blaming others for not fulfilling my own dream or trying to pass that to my kids or something. And this is really powerful exercise. So if you want to learn more about this, I'll leave a link to a great video in the video description. Despite all the resistance, there are ways to control it and prepare what's coming. Let me share what helped me. First of all, before I quit, you should save some money to get through the first, 6 to 12 months. Because if you don't have that, it's gonna be really stressful to go through this. Now, you could say, okay, I'm gonna actually save less, but my costs will go down because, I'm not gonna eat out for the next 6 months. Which is fine, but you just make it a bit harder for yourself by decreasing that lifestyle. In any case, you should have some money to fall back on because otherwise you'll just be stressing and you'll be taking risks and maybe jobs that you would actually not take otherwise. The second step before quitting is to make sure that you validate your money-making concept. So basically, how are you gonna make extra income? Is that while you write your book, you're gonna maybe do some freelance gigs? It doesn't matter how, but you need to make sure there's a demand for whatever you're looking to. If it's some business or maybe a YouTuber or content creation, then still you need to make sure that there's enough demand for whatever you're doing. Another thing that really helped me is that you talk to your partner and get them on board, because it's much harder if they are kind of against it or they just didn't approve it. I even let my partner to decide the date when I'm gonna quit. So just involve them in this process because it's gonna be just so much easier for you and for them to actually go through this. I know it's your dream, but still, you're gonna affect your partner, so make sure they're on board with this.
Another important aspect of this is that you set the date when you're gonna quit your job. That can be in 3 months, could be in 6 months, but the important thing is it's in your calendar and that's the date you're gonna work towards. In my case, it moved a few times, so I think in total it moved by 6 months, but I had a goal. Having a goal already half of the battle.
As you can see, it took me years to prepare and months to actually do it, but I'm also very risk averse. But what's really surprising is that the day I had to tell my manager that I was gonna quit, I felt really nervous, almost like I'm abandoning my team and letting them down. I'm still working at the company for a few more weeks, but it's kind of funny that now every time I hear some future plans from company announcements, they sound all so good. Like, wow, they're gonna do this. Oh shit, this is really cool. Am I making the right decision by leaving now? You can see just there's going to be always some doubts. That's why you need to, for the day itself, when you're gonna quit, make sure you pick the date and schedule a meeting with your manager so you can just do it. And if the meeting gets canceled, make sure you just pull your manager aside and just do it. Just rip the band-aid. In my case, I was actually doubting. It was like, oh, we actually didn't set the meeting. It was like, I had to just go through it. I decided, no, I'm already nervous. I don't want to feel this again. I'm just gonna pull him aside and say, okay, this is the situation and I want to resign. And make sure you do that because it just makes your mind at ease after that. Although it didn't really help for that long, but we're gonna get to that in a second. On the day when you quit, make sure you don't burn any bridges because you might have to come back to this industry or maybe your boss will go somewhere else. Just don't do it. There's no reason for it. Even if you hate your job, always keep everybody on your side. And who knows, maybe you need to come back to your company in a year just because your idea for entrepreneurship didn't work out. And especially if you like your team, be considerate and as flexible as possible. So if they need you to stay for a couple more weeks, maybe that's possible for you. That's just building a better relationship with people that you might cross paths with later. Phew. So once I told my manager and I quit, it was done, right? I'm off the rat race, but it's going to be just smooth sailing from here. But that's not what happened. Because I've already experienced some extra procrastination. I mean, I'm living the dream, right? I worked hard for this, so I'll just watch a bit of Netflix for a few hours and then I'll work on my business. And that's the crazy part of your brain will still try to sabotage you every step, especially in the beginning. Here's a few steps you have to do after you quit. Now, I would set a timeline to basically say, okay, on this date, if I haven't made this amount of money, then I'm gonna go back to my job. So I'm gonna search for a job on this date. It does two things. First of all, it creates a bit of pressure because then you have a deadline and you know how it is. The closer you get to deadline, the better you work or the more efficient you work. And second, it also reassures your partner and others that you're actually serious about this. And if it doesn't work out, you're gonna go back. And the other thing is that after quitting and then you live in your dream, there'll be lots of doubts. And it can be internal, meaning you're not sure if you did the right thing. And it could be also external. Maybe your friends or your family is just not on board with this. You need to block that out and always just refer to the timeline. Hey, I'm just doing this for this year. I'm gonna try it out. If it doesn't work out, I'll go back. That way they know when to bug you only after a year or whatever. And you also have that peace of mind that even if there's doubts, you're just gonna do it for the next 6 or 12 months, whatever is your timeline. And in every situation, doesn't matter what, make sure you know why you're doing it. So for what bigger purpose you're doing this whole thing. Okay, making more money is maybe a bigger purpose for you, but maybe it's more free time to spend with your family or friends or some other reason. Then make sure that's somewhere visible, somewhere on your table, or at least in your head that you know why you're doing this. Because there'll be tough times, and in those tough times, it's good to know why you're actually doing this, even if it gets hard. So it turns out there's nothing wrong with me. And in the end, if you don't make it, you didn't fail. You just find out that it wasn't for you, or maybe it is for you, but you had a bad idea or wrong idea. So you would need to go back and tweak it. So personally, I just want to take this opportunity that I might not get in a long time. And even if it doesn't work out, I can always find another job. Maybe it's not as nice as my old job, but I'll work my way up. It's a bit of a cliche, but I'd rather regret something I did than I didn't do. And one of the top 5 regrets of people on their deathbeds is not having the courage to live the life they wanted. So take action now. Watch this video next. It will show you a side hustle that you can start with while working a full-time job.